Alrighty guys, so today's video we're going to spruce the Dozer up a little bit. So in the last video you saw us put the blade on, which I will say the best thing about having the blade, other than obviously being able to use the Dozer as a dozer, is these little steps. You got a nice little handle here, you can get right up and climb right up in this old girl. Versus like trying to jump up the tracks, which are like a little like 3 foot there. So, and then you fall and bust your knee. It's happened many times doing this. But the main reason of today's video is we're gonna be putting LEDs all over this girl. So she's got pods on the sides, which kind of face out, pods in the front up there, which you can't see right now, and then pods in the back. It also has some, I guess those would be pods as well, up top. Now they don't work because the wiring was cut. But what we're going to be doing today is upgrading all this lighting to some new LEDs that are going to make it, it's going to pop at night. So then we can do some destruction at night. It's going to be a huge thanks to Auxbeam for sponsoring today's video. We'll talk about them a little more once we get some stuff open, and we'll take a look at what we got. And we got some other lights we're going to be putting on her too. But they were a huge help with this video, sending out some LED light bars for this thing, which are going to be up top, kind of like a 360-degree lighting. So, without any further ado, let's get this rig started. So, we know these switches all work in here, all the fuses are good, the beepers, everything works. We know all those fuses are good. Those are our side lights, which you can kind of tell, even during the day, looking at something, at whether it's going to be bright or not. And to me, they just don't look very impressive. Neither do the fronts here. They're really not that impressive. I wish I had some footage of this girl at night. Maybe I'll try to get some today, because I only have like an hour or two of daylight and I'm going to work on getting the wiring done. But I know the sides and the fronts, we can actually reuse that wiring, so we don't have to go and make a bunch of new stuff. I believe the rears, yep, the rears work too. So we can actually keep that wiring for pods. Probably gonna end up welding some C-channel up to the ROPS. That way we get some nice high lighting. But going forward, our stacks are kind of in the way. I thought about sticking one across the front here, maybe across the sides. We gotta see. We're gonna put the pods on too and see where she's dark at. So let's get that done now. So we're gonna open these together here. Now Auxbeam had reached out about a month or two ago and was like, hey, we want to sponsor a video, and send out some products. So I was talking back and forth, and I basically told them right out that I wasn't just going to go ahead and say, oh yeah, the products are great, you guys have the best products, go buy some of their products. I said that's not how I operate. I said, if you want to send me some products, we'll test them out, and if they're junk, I'm going to tell you they're junk. If they're good, I'm going to tell you they're good. And they were okay with that. They said, yeah, sure thing, we don't want you to lie. I said, perfect, because I don't plan on doing that. So they basically asked me then, well, what do you want? And I said, well, send me some medium-sized light bars. I don't want anything huge, because like you get 50, 60-inch light bars, it's kind of hard to fit stuff. I said, send me like 30s roughly, 20s, 30s. I said, send me like 2 medium to larger sized ones for the front and back, and 2 smaller ones for the sides. So right off the bat here, it looks like we got 2 smaller ones on front, which are still pretty wide, which are going to be a little hard to fit. So it appears these 2 are the same. And then these 2 look like pretty big ones here. These almost look like 40s. Looks like 30s and 40s, so they even sent some bigger girls. I'm gonna grab a tape measure and measure these just to see what we're working with. Because the more I look at that thing, the harder I think it's gonna be to fit stuff. Then again, we might just end up welding some big pieces of C-channel sticking off at goofy angles, and we'll make it work. So let's get one of each out, and we'll take them up on the machine and see where we can try to fit these at. Now, I'll open these on camera and give you my first impression of them. the thing with light bars, you can spend a lot of money on light bars quick, and I honestly have quite a few on my truck, and I run not super cheap ones, like not the dirt cheap ones, because they're just junk, but I do not run fairly expensive light bars, and you don't really need to, unless you just want to spend the money and you know they're going to be absolute quality. But right off the bat, these feel solid. That's a really, wow. You do not see ends like that on bars at all, except on high quality ones. And these are, they're supposed to be nice, they're supposed to be really quality bars, so we'll see. That wiring is thick. Wow. It actually seems like a nice harness, which I'm not going to use anyway, but that's got to be 10 or 8 gauge wire feeding that. That's a pretty heavy duty harness. It's actually one of the most heavy duty harnesses I've seen. That connector is really solid, and those pins in there are a lot bigger than most bars. Just take a gander inside there. This thing is huge. I can't believe how big this is. Oh, they look mean. Wow. So right off the bat, that looks like a spot and a flood, I would assume. I would assume those would be spots and you got flood. Wow, these things are gnarly looking. These are really mean looking lights. These things are crazy looking. Like huge eggs and like big spikes in there. These things are gonna be mean. I'm assuming the 50s are the same way. We can open one of them up and see too. Now another thing I'm thinking about initially is how are the mounts? Because mounts on bars are always junk. They're always either stamped, real thin stamped metal, like steel, and they're just absolute garbage. They bend really easy. And then you have like your cast aluminum or like a cast pot metal that's really junk as well. Look at all kinds of stuff in here. So looking at these for about 30 seconds to a minute, I was fairly confused what's going on here, but as soon as I pulled this little piece out, it was pretty clear what it is. So as I was saying, the stamped pieces that you see everybody use, they have the same thing. However, most of the time they're like 1/16 of an inch and you can bend them flat. These things are solid. They're probably 1/8 of an inch. I would say 1/8. Yeah, they're literally 1/8 inch. So they're solid. You're not going to bend them. And what this is, these are cast aluminum pieces, and I'm assuming this slides in the light. I can see a groove for it. Yeah. So this would slide in the light, and assume we could run a bolt in right like that, and there's one right in the center threaded. So then you can mount the light. You still have your angle, so you can mount it in the center or you can mount it on the sides. Now the huge benefit of that is if you can mount on the sides, personally, depending what you're doing, it's hard to say. If you're spanning a big distance or you're setting your lights up differently, you kind of need that. Like if you're putting them in a bumper or something and you need it bolted in the back, you need the side mounts because you need to go behind you. But like this, you can put, I'll show you here. This locks in, so we can put our bracket here now, so we can hang upside down or right side up, versus this way you can mount directly back. So personally, I would use these if you can. They're a lot more solid, and I'm assuming there's retainers. Yeah, there's set screws there, so this will lock in place. And this is probably how I'm going to go ahead and mount these, just because I like those style mounts a lot better. I think it looks cleaner too than having something hang off the side. But there's been many times where you have to go that route. And I'll show you on my truck, we got lots of light bars up there, and if you were to be stuck with a bar with this style mount, you would never be able to mount my center or my upper light bar. Now the center one there, I was able to take the lights out, and I don't like running through bolts. I don't like doing that. I like running one hole and a bolt on the inside. So I was able to stick my hand in and get a wrench in to that upper bolt there. So then you can actually still reach it. If that had brackets right in the center like that, you will never get your hand that far in. The upper one, however, if it had the center brackets as well, you would never be able to mount it, because I put a piece of flat stock here and put them on. Now you can see that's a cheap light bar. I think that bar is literally $40 and it's junk. These are gonna look good. These lights, right off the bat, they feel fairly solid, so I think they're gonna end up being a pretty high quality light. I could be wrong, and if I am wrong, I'll tell you. I want to give you my honest opinion in these in a future video after we use them for a little bit and get some wear and tear. So, I don't know if you can hear it. There's thunder and a lot of wind. So, this extravaganza, this is a light bar extravaganza is what we're doing to this thing. Did not go very long because we're about to get a crazy storm, and I don't know about yous, but personally I don't like wiring things in the pouring rain. So at least I kind of got an idea. So I'm gonna come back another day with some C-channel, and we're gonna weld some brackets up there and bolt the lights into there, and we're gonna go from there. So as you can see, the old grills don't really do a whole lot anymore. Not very bright. Not really sure how they managed to use these back in the day, because they are not impressive at all. Honestly, I can barely even see the machine, and it's getting light out, and you still can't hardly see anything. Like, all this stuff that you guys can see is because it's getting light out. Like, that has nothing to do with those lights. We're gonna change that. All right, so we have this little 110 welder, little Lincoln. It kind of works, not the greatest, but we have 2-inch C-channel, 1/8-inch thick, so it should heat that up plenty enough to weld to this. I mean, that ROPS is solid steel, so you're not really gonna get good penetration into that, but we'll see. I'm absolutely mind blown. I never actually welded with this welder. Gary did a lot of welding with it on gates, and I believe Jason has as well, but I've never actually laid any beads with this thing, and I really do see what they're saying now. This thing is junk. Like right there, laid a half decent bead there, and then all this stuff's just absolute garbage. So I don't know. It does not like this, welding this, nor does it like welding, period. If you can afford it, do not buy one of those welders. Actually, those things are like $1,000. So if you're gonna buy that thing brand new, just go get a used one that's half decent. And if you don't have the plug in your house or your garage for $220, have an electrician come out and put it in, because trust me, it's gonna be worth it. That thing is junk. I understand now why people, like DIY people, have welds like that. It's not even necessarily because they suck, what they're using sucks. So do yourself a favor and don't buy one of those. So we got all 4 pieces of the angle welded up. This flux is really hard to weld with, especially with a junk welder. Once again, don't buy one. So far, the only thing I don't like about these lights is, so they give you the cutout there to slide your bracket in. This side has the same channel, but they don't give you the cutout, which I think is pretty silly, because it's nice being able to pick where your wires go. Now granted, for me, I want the wire on this end because I'm going to use this entire wire. I was going to cut this and splice into it, But what I want to do is take the harness, and being that these quick connects are as solid as they are, they're really nice. I'm just gonna tie into this, run the wire here nicely, and this one is gonna run down, and I might end up cutting this one because it's gonna go there. And I'm not really sure how I'm gonna do this wiring it nicely. Now you could take a grinder and cut a notch in there and drop that slot in, which I might end up doing for this one. That way I can flip it around and the wire over here, and I can do the same thing, because I want to tie all these together in one piece. So I might end up doing that. If I do, I'll show you. Scratch what I just said about notching this. I actually really like how these lights are set up, because the sides, I'm going to utilize the center mounting point. On the ends, I'm actually just going to utilize the end brackets, and I'm going to set this right up on top of there and utilize those end brackets, which honestly might look a little better because they're going to stick out about another inch or so, which will give me like a 3-inch gap there on each side rather than like a 5-inch or like a 4-inch gap on each side. So I think it actually looks better, so that's what I'm going to do. All right, next day we got all 3 of those light bars mounted, and the sides are wired up, and I'm working on getting a power wire in. But to do that, we gotta hook up our control panel, which I have used many of these panels before, and I have seen many of them in vehicles, and honestly, a lot of them are junk. Not this brand, not Auxbeams, but like off-brand ones, so I'm curious to see. This is the first time I've ever even seen this one, so I'm curious to see if this one's nice quality. Those stickers actually feel really nice. Wow, this like feel nice. Okay. So like few, I don't even know what that is. It's obviously a jumper for something, probably a steel power for key on, I would assume. Alrighty guys. We got all the lights hooked up, we got the light bars hooked up, everything's wired nice. We have a main power wire coming off the batteries, which I have magnets. I was gonna put these up real nice, but honestly I forgot. And that goes into our nice tinted cab and runs a switch panel. Now, I didn't mount our switch panel permanently, but we turn that on, and we have side lights, a rear light, and wow, it looks really dark in here with the tent. These have a little spot and a flood, so we have to, they look like they're a little high, so we're gonna adjust them down. Same with, wow, those are actually really impressive. The side don't really do it much justice. The pods you can't really see much, obviously. The pods, it's hard to tell, being that there's a big like void out there in the valley. One of those spots up there would be perfect. The actual spot would feed down there and flood the rest of this. That definitely could be a future upgrade. Here, a little more throttle, I guess. Okay, so I'm gonna leave her idle here. She really is loading up. It's not like the cold idling, but I left 2 of the cat lights on the back. You can really see the difference of the OEM halogens. They definitely need to be replaced. Those are nice because it gets the side of the blade. I kind of have to turn them out more. And these floods are actually really impressive, these lights. I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was gonna be really bad footage in the dark, but I'm kind of impressed with how well these lights really do work. You can see those halogens are junk. Let's get her chooched up and run her over in the field. It's really hard to tell on camera. We had a nice exhaust leak, and it shoots out the front fan. Besides the point, and the point that we absolutely mutilated that metal. I guess there's no snakes hiding under there now. These lights are honestly sweet. If we get nice good pods there to brighten up this corner and get that turned down a tiny bit and this turned down a tiny bit, maybe another pod on the door. They have pods up there already. I didn't hook them up. So between those two pods, that would get in between here perfectly. It would work beautifully. We might even be able to put a light bar up on the ripper maybe. You could have a party up at the pavilion. You can see clear as day. Big thanks to Auxbeam for sponsoring this video. There will be a link in the description to their website, and if you click that link, you'll get a promo code from me to get a discount on. And I'm not lying when I tell you, these lights are actually really impressive. I like the ones with the spot in the middle. They're great for like a pickup truck. You can go straight out in front of you, but also get the flood. Like you can see the one on the back is pointing to a solid beam there, but then it still floods. And those are only 30-inch light bars. I believe that's a 32 and that's like a 27 or something. Something along those lines. And they work perfectly. For a truck, maybe something a little bigger, but I'm thinking like a 50-inch across the front would be awesome for out here. Leave a like, drop a comment. We have a lot of content coming up with this dozer. Some really cool videos. So, as always, have a great day and thanks for watching.